Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Femme Force podcast. My name is Rachael, and I am your host. And today I'm so excited because I get to be joined by Sharon Rolph. And so Sharon is a podcast host. She advocates for retirees, personal development champion, and she's a storyteller focusing on promoting courage and possibilities, which I think is just so moving. And we're going to talk about her journey today from silence to influence, personal development tools that changed everything for her and is changing other people's lives, and her mission to help retirees step into their purpose, which is a huge part of our demographic. And, we love our retirees. So we want to hear exactly what she has to say. So Sharon, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. You've got all kinds of pink there with you.
I do. My office is it's a Barbie core office, and we love it here.
Cool.
So tell the audience just a little bit about yourself and your background.
Well, my background starts, I was born in Anacortes, Washington. I could see Mount Baker and I had all the ocean out there in front of me. But my early years was really starting to be traumatic in that there was a lot of abuse going on in our home. And I wanted to be invisible. How many women, no matter what age, want to be invisible? There's so many tough lessons. I've learned a lot this last year about trauma, both how it impacts men, like PTSD in all kinds of situations. And it's real. I'm starting to respect the fact that trickles throughout our whole life.
Yeah.
If it's because it in fact impacts the way we react to life. I just yesterday had a conversation around ego, and I thought, I don't have ego. That's what men have. They're big, in charge, and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I am starting. One of your signs is wake up feeling different. Well, I expect that to happen here soon because I need to embrace my ego. And life might actually be much more functional with my business in that regard. But I decided that if I buckled down, got good grades, didn't rock the boat and was a beat it, maybe I'd be safe. And that did pretty much work for me. But it wasn't until I retired that I realized in fact, there were some subconscious things that happened. And one of them was I had blurted out that first day of class, nobody knows me. And I told a story that the following weekend I was going to, I had written an email to my girlfriend the night before that I'd probably wear a hat to her birthday party. And she wrote back and says, oh yeah, probably just you. Oh wait, my sister might wear a hat too. And it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because she didn't embrace it. Well, I wore this hat. Is this? Oh, no, like this.
Like for a horse race. Yes. Fascinator.
And I not only took this hat, I took 3 or 4 others. Every time we had a break, I'd put on a different hat, just kind of to play with it. And yet, about 6 months later, coming back from class, from lunch at that same class, I slapped the table and said it was not okay to be invisible.
Yeah.
I had no idea where that blurting out came from, but that's our subconscious talking, apparently. Yeah. And so this thing with ego is a new cutting edge for me, is to embrace a part of me that I have maybe hidden from even myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, your childhood experiences, that's going to shape your early belief that your voice didn't matter and really, set the tone of what you're going to be carrying through your adulthood.
Yeah, there's a situation that happened, like mom got us out of bed at like 5 o'clock in the morning and had us vote on whether dad should stay or not. And
that's horrible.
Don't rock the boat was I was saying one thing, but feeling something totally different inside. And you don't do that to your parents. But anyway, on the other side of that, once I did retire, I did have a profile that came to me just 3-4 days after I retired, and I had came in the mail, and it called me an influencer. Boy, you got that wrong. There's something wrong here with this profile. This has never happened before. And I actually had just a month or so later, I had participated in a course that said how to have mental strength. Well, that sounds good. But this is new because this was, 10, 12 years ago. And the guy said, well, when you're facing tough situations and you don't know how it's going to turn out and whether it'll be, good or not. Well, he said, first recall to mind a warm memory, hold it for 15 seconds, and then proceed, and it'll go a lot better for you.
Yeah.
And my warm memory that day was being a reader for our 3rd grade Christmas program at school. Mm-hmm. And, I had kind of taught myself how to be a good reader. This was important stuff. And I watched, who's in front of people and who's doing a good.
Very A-type. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So the evening news guy, was in front of people, and the pastor was in front of people, and so on. And I thought, okay, you need to speak up so people can hear you. You need to speak slow enough so they can understand you, and you need to look at your audience. Well, that's what I did. And somebody noticed at the end of the program, 1 or 2 people complimented me on I was their favorite reader.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And I'd skipped 2nd grade, so I was really a 2nd grader, not a 3rd grader. And yet after taking this mental strength class, I thought, why just have one more memory? Let's see how many I could come up with. And the shock, I made a list of 10 or 12 things that gave me warm memories, and half the list was in front of people.
Oh, wow.
Had I been in the wrong career? Okay, so that started making that profile that called me an influencer a little more real, consciously to me. So I shortly thereafter got a call from New York to be on a podcast. And that led into having them inviting me to have my own podcast. And that led me into writing a book, and on it goes. So I'm starting to really realize how prevalent this feeling invisible is, both as kids and through our trauma and even into retirement, because it's still what we're used to. It's still relevant to us. And we wake up and realize that there is a place for your voice. And one of the things I'm working on for my Christmas present this year is to give a little inspiration around the difference between love and joy. I've always appreciated the verses in the Bible about that your joy may be full. Yeah. So, what comes first, the joy or the love? And I'm finding that when you love what you do, the joy is the harvest. It's what you feel after doing things that energize you and make you passionate and make you probably have a purpose that really matters to you. So I'm going to work on that this week, and that's for sure.
No, that's amazing. I mean, and you said in our pre-meet that you worked a general telephone within your adult career, and that these childhood beliefs really followed you into being real problems in your adulthood. Was there a defining moment you had in your adulthood where you realized that something really needed to change?
Well, the thing that comes to mind, Rachel, is that I had taken some of my college classes. One of them involved being away from work for a week or two. And so I used my vacation time for that.
Yeah.
And coming back, I remember sitting in a conference room where there's 10, 15 people there.
Yeah.
And somehow I was getting strong enough to be willing to blurt something out there, realizing that there was at least 3 or 4 other people around this table that could say the same thing I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And so I would speak up for not only me and for them. That gave me more courage to be vulnerable. And a lot of people struggle with being vulnerable, but I have tended to embrace vulnerability as something magical might happen. It might work out exactly like you'd like it to. And you'll probably live to tell about it, even if it didn't turn out right.
No, I could see that.
Yeah. So
when you were go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, so I spoke up, and I was, the meeting went so much better because it's one of those things in fact, in my undergraduate course, we had a class where we would often talk about sweeping things under the rug. And when you're not bringing up what needs to be said, you're not courageous and vulnerable enough to use your voice to put things out there, then our symbol for putting things under the rug was having an elephant with its legs up in the air, and it's dead.
Yeah.
So you had a question?
Yeah. So I was wondering, like, you developed into this adult who knew that you had these personal development and now this confidence. And so you had a turning point when you were, enrolling in these personal development programs such as Toastmasters and Dale Carnegie. And how did these courses help build your confidence, like your communication skills and a sense of personality?
Rachel, I'm not sure I know the answer to that because I was just using my initiative, doing something that seemed kind of important to me. Following on this Christmas story and being a reader, there probably was a connection there, even though, many years later, it wasn't, like I say, it wasn't conscious to me. It's more subconscious. So, but I really applied myself because in Dale Carnegie, they told us one of the rules of what we had to prepare was only be it 2 or 3 minutes. Well, that's pretty short. It's actually to do a speech in 3 minutes. I had to practice that for the cruise I was on last year. But Toastmasters, they gave us more like 5 minutes. And the last one was 10 minutes. And that was another thing that came up on my list for mental strength is when I gave my 10 minutes competent Toastmaster speech, I was referring to a book by Alexandra, I forget her last name, but she's an interior designer. And for some reason, when I said interior designer, I pointed to my heart. I had planned to do that, but internal and heart kind of go together. And at the end of the speech, I had 1 or 2 ladies compliment me on, they caught it. At that moment, they caught the internal thing. So I applied myself in my speaking kind of career there, but it was all personal initiative.
Yeah.
And I feel good about that because using my initiative and doing it good seems like a real good idea.
1,000%. And you said during like your post-retirement, you were creating an influencer lifestyle profile that felt misaligned, and you were getting all this validation, like getting invited onto a New York City podcast. And then you decided to launch your own podcast. So can you tell me about what made you want to do this and just a little bit about the podcast, like what it's focused on and what you're doing with that?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, I kind of just took it as baby steps. I didn't feel like I had a good handle on it. And yet, one of the guys that did come on my podcast was a AARP president for Washington State for 6 years. And he had like 9 things, tips for being successful in volunteering. And he says the first tip was to try something. Just try anything, be in motion. In fact, that kind of relates to a psycho-cybernetic book of a steering wheel is of no value if it's not rolling, if it's not going someplace. So try something, just get in motion. And I kind of forgot where I was going with that, but the people that I interviewed people, and I would prepare. I would have at least 3 to 5 or 6 questions that I'd ask each one. And, the beauty, there's so many people that are, young people especially, are doing interviews, podcasting, because they learn. It's a freebie. Apply yourself, and they're getting a vast array of training because you don't know what the stories are going to be that show up. And it's kind of like reading biographies, right? So
1,000%.
My first one was just audio. It was on the Spreaker platform, and it was called Maximize Retirement. And I would interview people who were doing, kind of stretching our imagination of what's possible in retirement. It had nothing to do with money. It had everything to do with what could you do. And one of my first guests was Joyce Major. She had decided that she needed to stretch her heart. And she designed a customer service trip around the world. I'm not saying that quite right. Community service projects around the world. And one of the things that she did was feed baby lions in a reserve. Another one was reserve saving, not gorillas, baboons, I think it was. And one of her favorite memories was, in fact, sitting watching the baboons playing in some mud or water or whatever. And one of the head guys, in the baboon came and put its arms around her shoulder. And these guys are so big and strong. She didn't twitch a muscle. And the lead lady was sitting next to her, and she says, "What do I do?" And if he's not hurting you, then just receive the hug, But she had been past the criteria of being safe, I guess, with the animals. So, I wanted, even with my book, I tell some of those same stories in my book of helping people think outside the box. Sitting on your front porch might be satisfying to you, but it might leave a little bit to be desired. So what were you good at as a child or in high school? Did you play a mean trombone, or did you paint pictures for your school newspaper? Did you sing or debate? Or that is still in you, and it might have also given you some energy, some lightened your heart because you enjoy doing it. Well,
Yeah.
you're still that person. I make these little art blocks, and one of them that I try to use to help people think about, who are you still? Have you forgotten who you are?
Yeah. Which
That's
has to be such a beautiful reminder for them to get.
So I love color. I love words of wisdom, and I love to sew. And putting all those dots together, I made 400 or 500 of these. And this one I actually used on the front of my book, Explore the Possibilities, because we need to bring our best. We love to be embraced for things that just flow from us, because you noticed you like that. Well, you have so much more longevity and better health,
Yeah.
and mental strength when you're living from your authenticity and what matters to you. What a difference that makes.
Oh, no, I can only imagine the difference that has to make. And it has to be really special for somebody to be able to like have that kind of purpose, because you're helping somebody realize what their untapped potential is, like within their retiree ages.
Yeah, and I think it's going to help heal this world. And boy, do we need that these days. It took me 2 or 3 months before, after writing my essence statement, which is how I learned it, and I've since called it my our spark, our intrinsic spark. And I'm starting to hear other people talk about spark too. So Discover Your Spark, Rekindle Your Joy is the program I have. And
Amazing.
when I first shared it with the people from my class, we were reading it to each other, and when it came my turn, I was shocked. I felt like somebody had just asked me to define my soul. Nobody's ever done that. And here's what I read that day. I am precious jewel of wisdom. I am colorful collaborator, motivator, and learner. I am tranquil, authentic, and pure inspirer. I light fires.
I love that. That's beautiful.
I'm here to light your fire. And maybe there's some invisible hats waiting in your closet that you wish you had the courage to, I decided just a couple of weeks ago I needed a new persona. And so my new haircut is part of that new persona. And wearing some better colors or better dancing was not okay at home. So I think I need to figure out how to dance through life. And what a nice metaphor that is for
1,000%.
Yeah.
Enjoying life while you're doing it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's amazing. And your philosophy of doing that, and, it guides your work and your storytelling and your relationship. And, I think that's probably the message you want retirees to hear, is it's not too late to, dance life away and enjoy.
Well, and it feels a whole lot like heaven on earth. That is I'm a maximizer. The Strength Finder calls me a maximizer. And I think I haven't quite got the right handle on how to leverage that as I talk to retirees. In fact, somebody just sent me a video I haven't watched yet on how to convey effectively to people my deep joy and desire to help them be their best.
I love that.
Be good about that?
No, I think that's exactly what we should all be doing and, thinking about. And it's good for like cross generations, because the younger generation can learn so much from retirees. And I also think it's looking at, how we can help also, just because we're in a country that unfortunately does not provide for later in life for a lot of retirees. And, people shouldn't have to work when they've worked their whole life after 65 unless they want to, or they should be able to enjoy life more, or travel, or see, be able to have these experiences that you're having and dance through life a little bit more. And so I think that what you're doing in creating these classes is, showing them that there are those other options out there to be able to really enjoy these kind of things.
Yes. In fact, I have an ebook I created. I was coming back from having spoken in Phoenix, and I was up in the air, coming back to Seattle, and I wrote down 48 things that might get you dreaming about what would make your heart sing. So I called it "What Makes Your Heart Sing." I'm working on posting something about it today online, and it could be okay. So a lot of people kind of sharing people in retirement are on fixed incomes. You got to be careful. They can't afford much. Well, I know that story, but hey, it could be something as simple as being responsible for the flower and vegetation on your roundabout near your home.
Yeah.
Or it could be all the way on the other end of the spectrum and say, do you want to touch the water in the 7 oceans?
Yeah.
There's a lot of difference between that. But I went through a phase about 5 years where I thought about my side chair here. If the best you could do today is sit in that chair, you still can be a contributor.
Yeah.
You can still listen. You can still talk. You can still crochet. You can still read. You can still write letters. You decide what stops you.
Yeah.
I decide what stops me. And in fact, one of my little art blocks here is never underestimate the power of a planted seed.
Oh, that's beautiful.
I keep doing what I'm doing over the last 6-8 years because I decide what stops me. And you can do the same thing. You will live longer, more healthy, and with purpose when you live in retirement from your heart. That's the license we have with all our time freedom. And that potential matters a lot to me.
No, 1,000%. And I mean, you're the one at the end of the day that has to take accountability for yourself and realize that it's not everybody else's influence that's going to make you happy. You have to be happy within to showcase happiness without.
Yeah. And I think part of the reason so much, especially kids growing up, our parents and especially our dads tell us who we are or how stupid or how, critical they are of us. And we haven't replaced their opinion of us with our own opinion of us. And the main name I got called as a kid was Blue Elephant. I was bigger than my classmates usually. And I worked on a farm. We had a 100-acre farm, so we stacked hay and milked cows and gathered eggs. And so blue was, the blue jeans that you wore.
Yeah.
So I actually got up from the table and started to walk away one night when I don't want to eat if I have to keep putting up with this name calling.
Yeah.
And my dad made me come back to the table and said, you come by your height. Because my parents were 5'3" and 5'5". Well, I was 5'8" at home. And they said, both your grandpas on both sides of the family were more like 5'11", 6 foot tall. So you come by your height legally, So he made me understand that I didn't have to be ashamed of my height, but kids will compare themselves to each other all the time.
Well, yeah, that's no matter what, they'll find something to pick on. That's never changed.
So to know that you're legitimately your unique self needs to be appreciated in all of its glory, and understand that your parents' name calling is not what you're going to call yourself anymore. And in my creating a new persona, I'm kind of looking forward to how that plays out, because one of my friends in Virginia creates fabric.
Oh, that's cool.
Looms at her house, and I someday want to be able to have her make for me to be on stage in an outfit she made exactly for me.
Oh, I love that.
It would be cream and peachy color and apricot, maybe shrimp color. That was another name I call it. But that would be such a glorious moment to have Elizabeth making me look good.
No, I love that though. And it's also a nice collection of what a collaboration, uplifting women and right at that age. So we think that's amazing. So as we wrap up here, I have one final question I like to ask all of my guests, and it will be very interesting for you. But if you could give one piece of advice to your 16-year-old self, what would that be?
Well, I know one thing that I've told myself a few times later in life, believing in yourself. I failed at that a few times, but I did some good things too. At 16, well, I was already aiming for college because I like to learn, and staying on the farm was not my idea.
Not an option. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I do remember at about 14, 15, kind of looking at myself, and I thought, what's my potential? Where is it? And where's yours? Where can I find yours? So that had already been tickling my mind with curiosity. Yeah. Curiosity makes a big difference in life. So that's kind of more of a story than a line. But yeah, what's my possibility might be a good question for any and all of us to ask ourselves.
Yeah, at any age. But I mean, at 16 too, you just have so many choices and options in front of you. So, I mean, and the world is always evolving and changing. So I can only imagine then when you're like, I want to go to school, that's a big change for a lot of women back then. And that's a big deal.
Yeah. And none of I was one of 5, and I was the only one that went to college.
Yeah. And it's a big deal for families. It's a big, especially as a woman and an individual. And I think that's a huge goal and accomplishment right there. Just and like from a familiar standpoint. And
paid for it all myself too.
Good for you.
Yeah.
We're all drowning in loans over here. So good for you. We're doing the best we can. Well, I appreciate you coming on so much, Sharon. I've learned so much about, what we're going to do as the aging process starts, like how we can find ourselves again in any age and really take time to, appreciate every one of these accomplishments and, really take our confidence from there. So tell the audience, we're going to put it in the notes though, where they can find your community and your podcast and all of that fun stuff.
Well, I'm most active on Facebook and LinkedIn under my name, Sharon Rolph. I am on YouTube. It needs to be organized, and I've had a couple of people say, I can help you with that. Well, not yet, but soon. I started out my YouTube by holding up these little art blocks and telling people using this for courage. This one, may you feed a hungry world through me, is the last line of a song that it grips me like a prayer almost. Yeah. And I realized that could be a legacy I leave with feeding the world, because that's what you do on a stage somewhat, my website needs some revision, but it is SharonRolph.com. Also, awesome. Yeah, effortlessvitality.org. They both go to the same place. And my book is on Amazon, but it's also on a platform called the Great Discovery platform.
Very cool.
And my signature sauce of how to create your spark or your essence statement is on the Great Discovery platform too. And I'd love for you to check that out.
Oh, I will for sure be checking it out. I hope our listeners do too, because I think having these is just what a mantra to start your day, and to figure out your own would be really, really special. So thank you for talking about this, Sharon, and thank you for bringing it to our attention and letting the listeners know where they can find everything. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rachel. Let's do it again sometime, okay?
For sure. Thank you, Sharon. And everybody, we'll talk to you next week.